Right, I'm inside now. Sat at my desk. Just gonna have a nice, cool Budweiser. Cheers. So I've just checked the oil on the digital level, you know, from within the car. And of course, I didn't think before. After putting the oil in, obviously until I turn the car over, then it's going to fill the oil filter completely. I actually poured some into the oil filter, probably 3/4 full. And by the time it's worked its way around, then obviously that's going to drop the level. So I started the car up, oil pressure went right up to virtually 5 and stayed at 4 3/4, something like that, whilst ticking over. Didn't rev it, just let it tick over for 30 seconds, turned it off. And I'll leave it now for, what time is it now? 9:20. So I'll leave it for a couple of hours and then I'll put it back in the garage later and just see what it's settled at. That was the other thing that I got done today. Yes, so I got the key coded at Porsche Preston. So took a little while, took longer than I expected, to be honest, but I've now got a second key again, which is good. A new key fob, Porsche one, which I've bought and added onto it. So I've got a black one on my original key, that old key, and I've got a grey one on my, where is it? Where is it? Okay, lost it already apparently. I don't know what I've done with the other key. Unless it's on my key. No, it'll be my normal keys. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the new key because the battery is a little bit weak, I think, in this one. I've got to be relatively close to the car, and the new one I can do from further away. So the new keys on my normal with my house keys, etc. And this is the old one, which is the one I will stick in a safe place and not lose it again. So that's done. How long was I there? I was there for a good while actually. One thing they did do, which obviously took some of the time, which I actually did say wasn't necessary and didn't really want it doing, but they gave the car a full inspection, and they also washed it and vacked it, which was nice. And it was really nice because the technician came to me afterwards and said that the service guys were all having a good look at it and were amazed at how clean the interior is and what condition it's in. So that was really nice to hear people, because they said they don't see that many 996s in at the main dealer. There is a 996 there actually that's owned by Bowker's. It's like the dealer's, one of their like heritage collection, I think they call it. They've got a racing Boxster in there, and they've got I think it's a Carrera 2. Silver as well, very similar to my car. Not as nice a spec inside because it's a Carrera 2, I think, really, because Carrera 2s and Carrera 4s in general aren't as well spec'd as Carrera 4Ss. You tend to find that the 4Ss tend to have more money spent on them, speccing them by the owners, whereas I'm not saying like they're a budget spec, the 2s and the 4s, but quite often the people who were buying, say, a Carrera 2 specifically wanted a Carrera 2, and they didn't necessarily want all the creature comforts or all the maybe up-spec items because they were just after the driving experience. But 4Ss, and my car number plate starts with RK, and I've been told by a few people now that because that's the Reading area, that's Porsche GB apparently. There's a good chance it was a Porsche GB car, could have been a, I don't know, a manager's car or whatever, because it is really well spec'd. I really wasn't aware of all the things on there that were extras. I thought most of the things on it were just what came on a 4S, because I wasn't that well versed on, all the ins and outs. I'm learning more as I go along and as I speak to people, but it is a really well spec'd car. And the other reason, as I've said before, that I bought it is the overall condition was extremely good. Now, the guy I bought it off had a bore scope, which I've said before. And, well, actually, no, I'm not going to talk about that now, because I've got to look into that, because something's not right there, and I'm going to just look at my options, whether there's something I can do about it, because on first inspection, on first impression, there's may have been some deception. I don't know. I'll have to see. Sorry about that. Slight interruption. My wife wanted me to help pour out some fudge that she's making, so she was tapping at the window to the office. Yeah, so I'm going to look into that, but it is what it is. Overall, the car, I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with the condition of the car, bodywork, etc. The overall how the car's been looked after. I just obviously would not have chose to buy a car that was in need of an engine rebuild. Maybe I would have bought a different car. Maybe I would have bought a different car. I wouldn't have bought the car at that price. I would have either negotiated a cheaper price or I would have walked away. As it turns out, if I don't have any recourse, then obviously I'll just live with it. I am going to have to get it rebuilt, so yeah, that is what it is. There's nothing I can do about that. When it's done, the car will be fantastic. Everyone who's looked at the car, looked at the specs and looked at the interior and the overall condition, especially underneath. I was saying about why I was at Porsche Preston so long. So they did a full inspection and couldn't find anything. I mean, they do that because obviously they want you to spend money with them and they want to say, well, this needs doing. But literally, they couldn't find a thing. And he said, it's really clean underneath for a 17-year-old car. And the interior, the valeters, when they were doing it, were all having a look at it and were like, it's unbelievable how clean it is. And it really is. It's super clean inside, which is great. So I'm going to keep it that way, obviously, and I'm not going to be doing big miles, and it's not a daily drive, so I think the car will increase in value as years go on, and if the engine's been rebuilt, it's obviously going to be desirable as and when if I ever do come to sell the car. I had a conversation actually tonight with a friend who's got a 992, and it's also got the 718 4 litre Boxster GTS on order in Python green. And he was saying, if you did ever change it, what would you... Well, actually, he said, you'll probably enjoy this and keep it for a number of years and then probably find that you'd sell it and change it for something else. And I said to him, well, I've thought about this and I'm not quite sure what I would change it for. I'm not that bothered about just changing to a 997 because I could have bought a 997 for what I've spent, and I chose to buy the 996 because I like the styling and I like the fact that it's a slightly older car, but it's modern enough to make it very usable and driving pleasure. I've driven 997s. I like the way the 996 drives, and I don't really think a 997, again, other people I'm sure will argue, but I don't think the 997 drives any better. And I really enjoy the way my car drives. So for driving pleasure, I'm happy with it. Performance, it's got enough performance. 320 horsepower is more than enough. I can use most of that power most of the time. I did consider getting a turbo, and I still like the turbos, but any turbo, be 997 or 996, the running costs are higher. I've got a friend who's got a 997.1. It's a 40,000 mile car. It's in extremely good condition, but he spent £5,000 last year just on maintenance and just keeping it up to scratch. So running costs on the 4S are not cheap, but they're not ridiculous. So yeah, possibly a turbo, but that would be because I want the extra speed. I don't need the extra speed to enjoy myself. It's an extremely enjoyable car, and it can still, compared to normal cars, go extremely quickly. Even compared to modern, the really hot hatches, it can hold its own with those. I'm sure if I put it up against the latest top spec 300 plus brake horsepower hot hatch, then round something like the Nürburgring, the hatches will be quicker because you've got all the modern aids. But would I have more fun? Don't think I would, to be honest. Don't think I'd have to have more fun. All I know is that that car could, my Carrera 4S, I could lose my licence in that car very easily, just as I could also lose my licence in a turbo, maybe even easier. So I think, after having the conversation with him, the one car I do really like and I would possibly buy in the future is a 997.2 GTS coupe, not convertible, manual, because I just think they're a lovely car. It's end of the line for the 997, which is, you know, pretty much the same package as a 996, as in size and everything else. You got this jump then to the 991, which I think the 991 cars are a beautiful looking car, but it's a different car completely. And 992 is slightly bigger again. And as I've said in previous videos, when I've parked next to my friend's 992 in my 996, the difference is massive. They're a lot wider. It is a different car. So yeah, that's the only thing I would possibly put. Again, I think good GTSs, 997s in the future will go up. I think 997s in general, other than maybe turbos, they're still going down, they're still depreciating. I think turbos, 997.1s are going up for good cars. I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they are, if they're not going up, they're certainly not depreciating. Whether that be a 997.1 or .2, I don't know whether there's any real difference in the fact of whether they've stopped depreciating. Normal run-of-the-mill 997, so Carrera, you know, Carrera 4s, they are still depreciating. And that's one of the reasons why I also decided not to get a 997.1, was because, well, 996s I think are depreciation proof at the minute, and the right cars are starting to go up, and I think they're going to continue to go up. I don't think they're going to go into the stratosphere, but I think they're going to continue to go up, because a well sorted car, let's say my car rebuilt, I'll have mid-30s in the car once it's rebuilt. But even at that, what are you going to get with that kind of analogue drivability, that kind of heritage, that kind of appeal? I mean, you can spend that on a hot hatch easily. 35 grand, you spend 40 grand actually. If you go for a decent Golf, you know, the Honda Civic Type R is, I think it's at high 30s. So certainly mid 30s, Jesus, I mean, you spend 40 plus on a well-spec'd 520D. So, you know, so for that, I've got to look at it and think, what are you going to get? What am I going to get for my money? So even if they only go up a small amount, I just don't think, if I kept my car 5 years, I don't think I'm going to lose any money. And I think there's a good chance that they could also go up more than that. You know, you could go into the low 40s for a really good car. But we'll see. You know, it's all let your finger. But based on my experience of other things I've looked at, you know, I always said the Integras would go up. They have done. My car's doubled in value. There's various cars in the past that I've wanted to buy but not been able to buy, and then they've gone out of my reach because they have gone up as I thought they would do. So turbos, 996 turbos have started to go up, and Turbo S's have gone up a lot down to the rarity, and I think good turbos will continue to creep up. So we'll have to see. Watch this space. But so, in conclusion, yes, I'd rather not have to rebuild it. But even if I didn't do it now, I'd probably do it in the future. Am I going to enjoy a rebuilt car more? Yes, I think I would. I think once it's rebuilt and I know everything's sorted on it, I'll be a lot happier giving the car, you know, a bit more of a thrashing, as it were, using it to its full extent, with the confidence that it's been rebuilt and rebuilt well. And again, based on what I said before, I think it will be rebuilt well if I give it to Unique to do. So we'll see. More decisions to be made yet, but that looks like the general direction.